Hey everybody, it's Jack with Future Pastimes. I'm the designer of the Ixians Nexus expansion, which is the third expansion for the classic Dune board game, the 2019 edition from Gale Force 9. And one of the other variants that is in that expansion is something called Nexus cards. And this is a card that you can draw if at the end of a Nexus, other players are in an alliance and you are not. Each Nexus card has 3 possible effects, and there's 1 Nexus card for every faction in Dune, not just the ones in the game, but all 12 of the factions. And you use all 12 cards, irrespective of which factions are in the game. But only one of the 3 effects is possible, so it'll just depend on which factions you are and which factions are in the game. There is a betrayal effect, which is for when you draw a Nexus card for a faction that is in the game. There's the cunning effect, which is when you draw your own Nexus card. And then there's a secret ally effect for when you draw a Nexus card that matches a faction not in the game. And we're going to do a deep dive on the Ixians Nexus card. So again, it'll depend on whether or not Ixians are in the game and if you are the Ixians, and that will dictate which effect you can use. Now, if you already have a Nexus card, when another Nexus occurs, if at the end of that you are still not in an alliance, you can discard the one you have and then draw a replacement. Each of these is only one shot effect, so once you play it, it is discarded. And if you get into an alliance while you're holding a Nexus card, you must discard it. So let's take a look at the effects now. We'll start with the betrayal. So this is if the Ixians are in the game and you have drawn the card, but you are not the Ixians. And that effect is as follows. Prevent Ixians from using either their bidding advantage or their technology advantage, but not both. So the bidding advantage is when the Ixians, at the start of the bidding phase, they draw the top cards of the treachery deck, one more than the number that will be up for bid, and then they look at all of them. So they know what cards will be part of the auction, and they're going to choose one of those cards to suppress. They're either going to put that card back on top of the treachery deck or on the bottom. And if it's on the top, that means that if the Harkonnen get a free second card, that's the card that they'll get. It also means that if the Ixians are in an alliance, their alliance ability is after an ally buys a treachery card, they can discard it and take the top card of the treachery deck. So the Ixians can top load that with the card that they want their ally to get. So you could prevent this from happening. The other thing is their technology advantage, and that is where they actually take the card that is up for bid, and then they put one from their hand up in its place. And this is very handy for the Ixians, especially if they've looked at the cards that are going to be up for bid, and there's one card in there that's not very good, but everything else is good, and they end up buying the one that's not good. They can immediately put that one back up for bid, and they can take one of the next one that would have been up for bid, put it into their hand. They can also just do that with one of the other cards that's in their hand. So, yay for them. But you can stop them with this betrayal advantage and say no. So one of those things, it gives you flexibility on which of those things you want to cancel. It works very much like a Karama. The cunning effect is if the Ixians are in the game and they've drawn this very card. So it is for Ixians only. Before formulating your battle plan, you would play this card. And then you may count all of your suboids in all battles this turn as counting full strength without needing support with them with spice. It does not mean that you can then also spend spice to have them count extra. Normally suboids count as half. They only count as half, and you can't give them spice to count more. But here with this, you can say, yeah, all the suboids, they're all jacked up and they're ready to battle. And normally they only contribute a half a turn on the dial, but now they will be a full point like everyone else's regular forces. So that's a pretty good one. Now there's a rule where whenever you draw your own Nexus card, you can immediately discard it and draw another one. And that rule exists because a couple of these Nexus cards, the cunning effects, are only applicable in advanced. This one could be work fine in basic as well. But sometimes you just want to have a different option. You're hoping for a secret alliance effect, or you're hoping for a betrayal that you can use to cancel somebody else. Now, the secret ally effect, this is if the Ixians are not in the game, that's the only effect that would be applicable. You couldn't cancel them, and you wouldn't get anything because you're not the Ixians. So that is intended to work in most cases. like the actual alliance effect that you would get by being allied with that faction, which would be the case here. So with the secret ally effect, if the Ixians are not in the game, you may discard a treachery card you just purchased during bidding and then draw the top card of the treachery deck. So that is what the normal effect is, and you can do that, and you can discard a Richesse card that you just bought as well. You've still paid them, so they've gotten their spice for it, but then you can take the top card of the treachery deck instead. So it's a nice little get out of a worthless card or a cheap hero or whatever it is that you don't want effect, and hopefully get something better. So that is how these Nexus cards work. I like to use them in every game now. I think they're pretty low overhead in terms of the complexity. Everybody understands them. They're fairly straightforward. They're easy to implement. And they are designed to encourage players to not jump into an alliance right away. Maybe they should go for a solo win, because this is a secret effect. Nobody knows which one that you've drawn. So some of these, they might come in handy. Some of them are useful in a battle. So for instance, the Cunning one, if the Ixians are going for it alone, this really gives them an upper hand in a lot of those battles, because they're not just relying on their cyborgs to help them win. They've now got the benefit of the suboids are basically twice as strong as normal. So that is how it goes. Let me know what you think of the Ixians Nexus card and Nexus cards in general, and let me know if you've had a chance to use them and what you think of Nexus cards and any interesting interactions that you've seen having them in the game. That's it for this video. Thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you again soon.